All right. Welcome back. Week 12's recap, separation Saturday. Welcome back to another DNS address. Week 12 was about separation. Troy wins big in the DNS user matchup, probably the biggest one of the season. Miami dropped 63 on another ranked opponent. South Florida reached 10 victories. Texas State officially punched its ticket to the postseason. And a few coaches next week may be their final time that they're with their current program on the field. The contenders are separating from the pack. The playoff picture is taking shape, and rivalry week is amongst us. Let's get into it. Headline of the week: Troy wins the collision, 9-1 versus 9-1. Georgia Southern versus Troy. Coach Bennett versus Coach Burnett. The biggest DNS user matchup of the season, delivered exactly what we expected. A physical game, big plays, turnovers, a fourth quarter fight. When it was over, Troy stood alone. The Trojans defeat number 23 last week, Georgia Southern, 29-22. Goose Crowder delivered his best performance of the season, 19 for 35, 336 in the air, 3 touchdowns. Jackson Worley caught 6 passes for 164 and a touchdown. Narell White added another 69 yards and a score. Georgia Southern fought until the end. Max Johnson threw for 322. Hollins finished with 177 receiving yards. Tracy Hill returned an interception for a touchdown. But 2 picks from Johnson, including an 11-yard return by Doug Nelson, helped swing the game. Troy improves to 10-1. Georgia Southern falls to 9-2. Coach Burnett, the Trojans now own the biggest victory, user versus user, of the season. Keep it moving, brother. Miami sends another message. 2 weeks ago, Miami was trying to recover from a loss at Notre Dame. Today, the Hurricanes may be playing their best football of the season. Number 8 Miami destroys number 22 Virginia Tech, 63-24. Mensah threw for 359 and 4 tutties. Matlock, coming off the bench, added 122 yards and 2 more scores. Pringle rushed for 155 and 2 touchdowns. Malachi Toney, you may ask, 9 receptions, 203 yards, another touchdown. Miami finished with 636 of offense and scored 9 times. The Hurricanes improved to 9-2, climbed to number 7 in the college football playoff ranking, and are currently projected to host BYU in the first round. Coach Noodle, Miami is no longer trying to recover its season. Miami is chasing the national championship. South Florida reaches 10 wins. South Florida traveled to Florida Atlantic for a dangerous rivalry game. The Bulls left with their 10th victory. South Florida wins 52-31. MVB Jr. threw for 4 touchdowns. He also threw for 4 interceptions again. But South Florida's rushing attack was unstoppable. Isaac ran for 150 yards and a touchdown. Crowther added 146 and another score. Kenny Odom caught 9 passes for 144 and 2 touchdowns. Smith returned to kickoff, 98 yards for a score. Second one of the season, I'm pretty sure, for him. Grammatica drilled a 58-yard field goal. South Florida improves the 10-1, moves to number 17 in the college football playoffs. The current projection has the Bulls facing the Oklahoma Sooners in the first round. The turnovers remain dangerous, but 10 wins are 10 wins. Coach Mertz and the Bulls are officially in playoff conversation. Texas State's going bowling. Texas State entered Week 12 needing one more victory. The Bobcats did not need style points. They needed win number 6. Texas State defeat Washington State 20-6. Brad Jackson only completed 4 passes. The Bobcats responded by handing the ball to anybody wearing a helmet. Pryor rushed for 89 yards on a touchdown. Jenkins added 87 yards. Burgess carried it 16 more times. Texas State controlled the football, controlled the clock, controlled the game. The Bobcats improved to 6-5 and are officially bowl eligible. Current projection sends Texas State to the Sun Bowl against SMU. Coach Dilla, mission accomplished, brother. Our stock ups this week: Troy with 10 wins, the biggest user win of the season, and a place in the national rankings. The media poll has Troy at 21. Miami scored 122 points against ranked opponents over the last 2 weeks. Toney remains a Heisman favorite, and the Hurricanes have climbed to number 7 in the playoff rankings. South Florida, the Bulls are 10-1 and currently projected into the college football playoffs. The offense remains explosive, enough to score from anywhere. Georgia Tech bounced back from a Clemson loss by crushing Wake Forest 36-7. Malachi Hosley rushed for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns. Chad Alexander added 84 yards and another score. Yellow Jackets improved to 7-4. Mississippi State defeats FCS Southeast 55-17. We all know what's coming. Fluff rushed for 175 yards. The defense scored twice. Reagan's added a 73-yard punt return touchdown. Will Whitson recorded 3 sacks and 4 tackles for loss. The Bulldogs improved to 3-8 and head into the Egg Bowl with momentum. Needs more film this week. Georgia Southern. That was not a bad performance. It was a painful one. The Eagles produced 322 passing yards and another defensive touchdown from Tracy Hill Jr. But 2 interceptions and an inconsistent running attack proved costly. Georgia Southern falls to 9-2 and is now 25th in the media poll. The playoff path has narrowed, but a 10-win regular season is still available. Old Dominion, the Monarchs come out of the bye week, surrendered 49 points to UConn. Old Dominion falls 49-34. James did rush for 178 yards. Roche produced 114 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, and a 92-yard kickoff return score. The offense showed up. The defense did not. Old Dominion falls to 8-3. Central Michigan, 1 week after dominating Sacramento State, Central Michigan was overwhelmed by Buffalo. The Chippewas lose 53-15. Angel Flores attempted 57 passes and threw 4 interceptions. Central Michigan falls to 5-6. The entire season now comes down to 1 game win at Ball State, and the Chippewas can go bowling. Lose, the season ends. North Dakota State defeats Northern Illinois 42-20. Eric Taffa provided a bright spot with 116 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, but the Huskies fall to 0-11. UTEP comes to DeKalb next week, and there is a real possibility that this will be Coach Breezy's final game leading Northern Illinois. Arkansas, we have another week. Another close loss. Louisiana Tech defeats Arkansas State 34-31. The Red Wolves fall to 2-9. Coach Babcock may also be approaching his final game with the program, and waiting next week is 10-1 Troy. Week 12 awards our Offensive Player of the Week this week was Goose Crowder for Troy. 19 of 25, 333 yards, 3 touchdowns, and the biggest user matchup of the season. Crowder delivered the biggest performance of his career. Our Defensive Player of the Week, edge rusher Whitson from Mississippi State. 4 tackles, 4 for loss, 3 sacks. He lived in the backfield, helped Mississippi State produce its most complete victory of the season. Our Built Not Given award this week. Texas State entered the season with questions. The Bobcats entered November with work still to do, but when bowl eligibility was placed directly in front of them, they took it. No explosive pass performance, no national rankings, just physical football, disciplined defense, and a 6th victory. Coach Dilla. Postseason football was built. It was not given. Our Heisman watch, Miami's wide receiver Malachi Toney remains number 1 with another 200-yard performance, only strengthens his case. Mark Fletcher Jr. remains 3rd. His production was limited against Virginia Tech, but his full season resume keeps him firmly in the race. Miami has 2 legit Heisman finalists and the favorites to take home the trophy. We'll see what they can do. Our college football playoff watch. The rankings that matter have 2 DNS programs in the picture. Number 7, Miami. Miami's currently projected to host BYU in the first round. The Hurricanes control their own path here. Number 17, South Florida. The Bulls are currently projected to face Oklahoma in the opening round. At 10-1, South Florida can't be ignored. The media ranking also includes Troy at 21, Georgia Southern at 25. Neither is currently inside the playoff bracket, but both remain nationally relevant. Bowl projection watch if the season was to end today. Texas State would face SMU in the Sun Bowl. Old Dominion would face TCU in the New Mexico Bowl. Georgia Tech would face Washington State in the Holiday Bowl. Troy would face Tulsa in Myrtle Beach Bowl. Miami would host BYU in the college football playoffs. South Florida would face Oklahoma in the college football playoffs. Georgia Southern would face Buffalo in a Salute to Veterans Bowl. Our Week 13 preview, our DNS user matchup of the week, and our game of the week. Troy at Arkansas State. Troy enters 10-1. Arkansas State enters 2-9. On paper, this should not be close. But this could be Coach Babcock's final game with the Red Wolves. Pride is dangerous. A coach with nothing loses dangerous, and Troy can't afford to overlook anybody. Our bowl elimination game is going to be Central Michigan at Ball State. Central Michigan's 5-6. Win, you're in. The Chippewas go bowling. Lose, the season's over. Enjoy the long vacation. Rivalry week begins as well. Mississippi State travels to Ole Miss for the Egg Bowl. Georgia Tech travels to Georgia. Miami hosts Boston College. South Florida welcomes Tulane. Georgia Southern hosts Louisiana Tech. Old Dominion hosts Southern Mississippi. Texas State travels to Colorado State. Sacramento State heads to Hawaii. And Northern Illinois hosts UTEP in what could be Coach Breese's final game. Our commissioner picks of the week. Troy handles Arkansas State and reaches 11 wins. Miami defeats Boston College. South Florida survives Tulane. Georgia Southern responds against Louisiana Tech. Texas State finishes the regular season with another victory. Old Dominion bounces back against Southern Mississippi. Mississippi State makes the Egg Bowl uncomfortable. Georgia Tech fights Georgia into the fourth quarter. Northern Illinois finally finds a way against UTEP. And Central Michigan survives Ball State to become bowl eligible. Ladies and gentlemen, Week 12 separated the contenders from everybody else. Troy won the biggest matchup of the season. Miami and South Florida entered the playoff race. Texas State secured postseason football. Central Michigan reached the edge of elimination. And two coaches may be preparing for their final games. Next week is not just another week. It's rivalry week. It's survival week. It's the final opportunity to define how this regular season will be remembered. Protect the football. Finish every tackle. Leave nothing in the playbook. And when the final whistle blows, make sure nobody can question whether you give your program everything you had. In the Department of Natural Selection, you select, we collect, built, not given.